Young people are really engaged in the climate discussion and they don't want to be left out. I think that things like the World Food Forum and youth national chapters offer them a chance to have their voice added to important discussions. And I think that is a big draw for them.
Finding different people to connect with and really celebrating the diversity and who you bring in is actually a great way to make sure that everyone feels included in the space, whether you're like an agri-food expert or not.
Food is culture, food is community. Food is a lot more than just filling your stomach. And I think it's important that we frame any project to be more than just filling stomachs. Is this a chance to connect people back to the environment, back to each other?
I would wish for the world to be much more healthier in the sense of not just the food, but healthier mindset as well. It's also another food that we feed into our subconsciousness. And in that way, that could lead to all these other changes that's important and that's necessary. I would wish for the world to be much more conscious.
Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to our episode of the Zero Hunger Project. And today, I don't have my co-host Stacia with me. I'm your host Suman. And we are at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Rome. And we are at the World Food Forum. And I'm very fortunate to have some amazing folks here. We have from Bhutan, we have from Australia, and of course, from Ontario, Canada. So we're going to talk a little bit about the challenges about starting a youth chapter, getting youth involved, and some of the amazing work these folks are doing. So first of all, thank you for coming. Welcome. Welcome to this conversation. I'm really thankful that you have found time in this busy, crazy week to come and do this. I'm going to let you quickly introduce yourselves and say a little bit about where you are from and what you do there. Why don't you start?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Mugen. I'm from Bhutan. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I'm one of the chapter leader for Bhutan Food Check.
Amazing.
Great. Yeah, Simon, thanks for having us here. My name is Alex. I'm from the World Food Forum Australia chapter. I'm the head of science and innovation there. Outside of the chapter, I am a student, so I study agricultural science at the University of Melbourne.
Fantastic.
I'm also from the Australian National Chapter. I'm head of education and advocacy. I'm based in Brisbane and I work at the university as a tutor.
Amazing.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali. I'm the Vice President Operations of the newly launched Ontario chapter, and I'm based in Toronto, Ontario.
Fantastic. So thanks all for the introduction. So my first question, I know Bhutan has been established for a little bit time. Australia is really new, almost the same time as Ontario launched. So there's a lot of learning that is happening as we speak and a lot needs to happen. So from Bhutan's perspective, you've been having a chapter for how long now?
Almost 18 months now.
18 months. Wow, you're senior. So first of all, what enticed you to start a chapter in Bhutan?
So, so this is my first attendance to the World Food Forum. A couple of our friends attended before me, and after attending the World Food Forum, they came back home and they said, "No, we should start a chapter." So, the four member that came initially, they started a chapter. I was one of the first initial 10 members to join, and since then, we have been able to, we're still relatively new in the sense of still figuring a lot of things out, but there have been some interesting learnings as well. So we have pretty much presence in all of the university in the country now. Bhutan was tiny, so there's about 15 universities. We have members from all of it. We also have a lot of youth members that are across, from lawyers to engineers to people working with climate finance and entrepreneurs like myself as well, who is part of the group. And in terms of the structure, our structure is flat in the sense of everyone is equal not just for the sake of saying, but in terms of what they can do within the chapter, and it's also all on voluntary basis. For example, my engagement with the chapter itself is also voluntary. So everyone's volunteering for it, and we do. So we sit together and we discuss what we're going to do for the year, and to be kind of throwing ideas. Everyone who's looked is Bhutan also, even though we're a small place, because of the multi-net value, they're really fragmented. So we have a hybrid sort of a assembly that we do, and in that, everyone kind of contributes ideas, and from that idea, we kind of map out what we want to do out for the year, and that's how we've been doing so far. And there's been a lot of activities, simple activities such as, just the chapter member gathering and organizing independent hikes, different villages, and just getting together, discussing about food and how we as young people can play a role in it. So from there, one of the interesting ideas that kind of popped out was SDG camp. So in the SDG camp, it's like a annual gathering also we do, but it's also fun. It's camp, so it's young people coming together. So there's games, there's a bit of alcohol.
So, also, no worries. That's just
So everyone
makes it better.
it always does, I guess. So everyone opens up and we sit together, and the SDG camp is like a place where we kind of sit down together and share with each other of like what are the priorities, because Bhutan faces its own unique set of challenges. So that's the camp seemed like the perfect way for us to bond also within our members. That's also how we select like which roles we're gonna take. And within the plan structure, there's about 7 domains, like from social media managing to networking and investment, which is I'm taking on right now, and a couple of other domains which we think is important for the chapter. And it's also very iterative. There's a lot of changes that we make quite rapidly. We are also a registered CBO, which is a community-based organization. So we're able to do our own fundraising. So we're kind of not attached to any organization. So we're independent in that sense of like we have liberty to plan our things and lead our way. And actually at the SDG camp, one of the other interesting things that came out was we kind of adopted the framework of ITG. Are you aware of ITG? You want to hear aware of ITG?
But for our audience, might want to say a little bit because as many audience know.
So it's very interesting. So the SDG camp is Sustainable Development Goal camp. So the IDG itself kind of speaks for it. So, but the IDG was kind of formed as so SDG is this large external goal that is that we all need to, as a collective humanity, we need to achieve. But how do you actually do it? What do you do as an individual? So that's where the ITG comes in, which is the inner development goal. So it talks about 5 different role names and 23 skills. So that has been one of the main highlights that we try to do at the camp, because we want to embody that as a guiding value within our chapter. So that's something we teach to all of our young members. Okay, we need to collectively get to there, but how do we get there, right? So in that we kind of started implementing the ITG goal. So that was the other interesting bit that came out as a result of the SDG. I think when young people are put together, I just kind of just
Of course.
And one other interesting highlight with the chapter has also been the International Youth Day celebration. That's something we do. So we held the International Youth Day celebration in the capital city. And we also instituted this award of Youth Empowerment Award, which we give out to individuals with a country that are helping youth be empowered. So this year, our agriculture minister was the first recipient of this award, and it's very interesting. I was emceeing the whole event, and when we gave the award to our minister, he was saying like, "Oh, I don't think I did enough to empower youth, but I'll take this as a responsibility."
Maybe he will do now.
Yes. So like some of the interesting things.
100%. I was very fortunate to meet him yesterday. And he's such a nice gentleman and very humble and wanting to do more.
And
Continue.
he's very supportive as well. So
100%.
So I think what we are learning is that collaboration and building as much relationship as possible is very imperative to the growth of the chapter. But also, I mean, there are issues and challenges within the chapter of like, how do we get more members? How do we bring in investment? I think that's kind of never ending. But I think these were some of the foundational things that we did, and that's giving a much more optimistic outlook for the film.
So I'll come back to a question about something you said, but I want to hear from Australian team is what made you come up with your chapter? Why do you think that the youth needs the voice from Australia? Because I find Australia very similar to Canada from the perspective of our challenges and all. So I'm very curious to hear that.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of similarities shared with Canada. For us, the idea of an Australian National Youth chapter was born out of last year's 2024 World Food Forum flagship here in Rome. There's an organization called Global Voices, and they sent a delegation to Rome, a youth delegation. Global Voices send delegations to all sorts of global fora, UN, General Assembly, COP, etc. And this delegation to the World Food Forum came back with this idea being now exposed to the national chapters of we should have one in Australia. So they came back, and thankfully, being a Global Voices delegation, were situated across Australia. So had roots in Perth, had roots in Queensland, in Victoria, so all across the sort of geography of Australia. And then they went about recruiting the executive team, which is how Grace and I came on board. From there, we've then done a recruitment drive to broaden our committee, and we've just wrapped that up. And then we went and launched our chapter just 2 months ago. So in the space of a year, it's gone from an idea and then into now being able to launch, and with a team of roughly 30, I think, broader committee, and now ready to roll with action.
And I think for your second question, like the reason that such an organization was attractive to us to begin with was that it's kind of a strategic area that's not been occupied yet in terms of youth affairs. Australia produces a lot in agriculture, in a lot of different domains, and forestry and fisheries as well. And there's not really a youth voice involved in those enterprises. Another thing that Australia holds very uniquely is its influence in the Pacific. So being linked to an FAO, a UN organization, is also very important in terms of like foreign affairs and foreign interests as well, and wanting to continue to strengthen Australia's relationship with the Pacific Islands.
Fantastic. Ellie, from your perspective, now Ontario chapter, down the road, we're hoping to have a Canadian chapter. Why do you think it is important?
Yeah, I think that Canada is super diverse. Like geographically, it's huge. We also have like forestry, fisheries. We have like the prairies, and then we have like the north. So we knew that youth around Canada were super diverse, have super great innovations and ideas and perspectives on the agri-food sector from whatever corner you're from. So we wanted to find a space to bring them together. We started with Ontario, and that's kind of like our pilot. So now we have interest from a couple of the provinces as well as the territories, and hopefully next year we'll launch an actual national Canada chapter. But we did want to find like a common space for everyone to come together.
That's fantastic. Now, this is a burning question I have, not being youth, just a youth at heart. I find it that engaging youth is a huge challenge in many places, not only I see in Canada, but I also see in other countries we work in. Do you all face the same problem, or is it just because I'm old and that's why I face it?
I think it's multifaceted. I think there are youth who are really keen to engage, but they're students, they're facing a cost of living crisis, they're young career professionals, they just don't have the time. And so that's definitely a hurdle. And we find too in the Australian context that it's such a vast country, and there are youth in agriculture, agri-food outside of the cities who we want to reach. And it is hard to get the message to them. I also think that our attention is just split. There's so many volunteering opportunities that you can do versus, say, a few decades ago. So it is tough, certainly, but I think that central to it all, there's a lot of passion amongst Australia's youth to get more involved in agri-food. They sense the opportunity that's there. We have an aging farming population. The average age of farmers in Australia is 58. But more broadly across agri-food and food literacy, food security challenges, there's a lot of opportunity, and certainly young people are keen to jump.
If I could actually add something to that, I think it is definitely hard to engage young people because of all those reasons Alex listed. But I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of people we were able to engage in with our chapter. And I think it's because it attracts a lot of different young people. And we know from movements in the past few years that young people are really engaged in the climate discussion and they don't want to be left out. And I think that things like the World Food Forum and youth national chapters offer them a chance to have their voice added to important discussions. And I think that is a big draw for them.
Fantastic. Anything from Bhutan?
Well,
How's the engagement?
Firstly, I think Alex highlighted some of the very critical issues of why youth are not able to engage as much as they would like, right? I think youth have, because we're young, right? We still have a lot of idealistic view of the world, and because of that, it is definitely the heart to participate and to get back to the community. But also there's this resource problem that's pretty much everywhere, right? Of young people that just start out on life. Right? They would like to build something. They would like to have the stability. So because of that, there's some sort of issues that's real. But having said that, also I think it also really depends on. I think youth are much more responsive to youth organized events than when it's like when it's like adults trying to decide what they think is good for the young people. I think that doesn't really seem to work. And some of the adults are not even young at heart. Fair enough. So I think these kind of things kind of adds to the layers of our youth that we're not able to engage. But in our chapter, we're finding that people are going out of their way to engage and to participate and to get back to society in things that is dear to them.
Just out of curiosity, how many? It doesn't have to be accurate, but how many roughly members do you have?
So right now we're at about 300 members. But I mean, considering the size of the country, we with that we are able to kind of seep into almost like every different aspects of the community, which is very. But now I think we're reached to a point where how do we bring it all together and to go to the next stage.
What about you, Ellie? Do you see the similar problem in Canada as well?
Yeah, I think everything Alex highlighted also makes a lot of sense in terms of like so many things happening in youth's lives that it might be challenging to find time for just another additional initiative. But something that Eugen said, like with the finding different people to connect with and like really celebrating the diversity and who you bring in is actually a great way to make sure that everyone feels included in the space, whether you're like an agri-food expert or not. Like you could just be interested in policy like myself or like an engineer and an entrepreneur. So I feel like there's ways for people to engage and connect with the chapter. And that's kind of where we're at in terms of finding people. Another thing would be like the rural and urban divide that we kind of face with like the city folks versus like the rural folks that are actually like on the farms and engaged with farming. Like, how do we physically get to them if it's not just cold emailing, right? So that's something that we're, working through, but we hope to be able to engage with everyone in Ontario and then everyone in Canada as well.
I think actually one of the benefits of the national chapters is that they are university. And of course, the university is a big strength and they're able to draw on those resources, but they're not limited to university students. There's so much community involved in university. And as a young person, you feel so connected to that. And then you graduate and suddenly you're out there with the old fuddy-duddies and you don't feel like you've perhaps fit. And so people who've graduated, I feel that they're going to be a really important contingent of what the national chapters do because it's a youth organization they can join outside of university.
100%. By 2050, they're predicting over 9 billion people in this world. Now we can feed 600 million on a daily basis. So we can only imagine how this might be a very hard issue for many countries. What is the youth in your country saying about the food security side of it? A lot of times it's not just agriculture, there's a lot of access issues as well. We see that in Canada quite a bit, and I'm sure it's different places as well. So any insight on that, that what is going on in the mind of the next generation, even if you haven't asked the question to your membership, but just to you, what does that mean and what can we do to make it better?
I guess like for me, this is more of like a personal thing that what I have found is, well, I know we can't feed so many people and so many people are food insecure in the world. However, we do produce enough food to feed over 9 billion right now. And so the problem is access, distribution, utilization. So in terms of access, you have people who can't afford in Australia to go shop at the major grocery stores because the prices are far too expensive. And retailers tend to have a very strong hold on pricing. So this pricing issue disadvantages farmers and it disadvantages people who are vulnerable. So I think kind of a greater regulation is what a lot of young people are calling for, especially because young people are not earning as much. Things are more expensive. And so now they are kind of not able to live the lives that their parents lived either. So there's also utilization. And this is where education comes in on things like food literacy and food education, sustainability education, and agri-food education as well. How do we produce the food that we have? What are the impacts that it has on our society and our environment? And how do we support the producers and make that food for us so that we can live healthy and balanced lives? So those are my points on that.
And in the Australian context as well, the idea of food often, of course, talked about in the idea of production and how much we produce. But I think that we have an opportunity globally, certainly within Australia, for food to be more than just nourishment, more than just meeting your needs of calories. That food is culture. I know for Indigenous Australians, that's certainly the case. That food is community. Food is a lot more than just filling your stomach. There's an example, a delegate who watched the World Food Forum last year, who's now on the advisory board of that chapter, Malachi Clements, is an Indigenous man from far north Queensland in a town called Weipa. And they get their food delivered via barge, so by the ocean from Cairns. And frequently, if there's a cyclone, for example, that connection will break. And for their community, regardless of whether there's a natural disaster or not, that food has had such a far travel time that its quality and shelf life and nutritional value is so low and it is so expensive. So Malachi has been setting up this community orchard for their community. Walk past on the way to school, grab yourself some fresh produce. But more importantly than that, it's a food security measure during those disaster times as well. That project and projects like it across Australia are not just a chance to bolster food security, they're a chance to bolster community. And I think it's important that we frame any project to be more than just filling stomachs. Is this a chance to connect people back to the environment, but back to each other?
Fantastic. Now, Bhutan, I know that only 3% of the land is actually agricultural land in Bhutan. So it makes it even more challenging.
It definitely does. And also, like Alice mentioned, even if like most of our population are still engaged, we are agrarian country, right? Most of our communities depend on agriculture, and for most of these people, it's also a way of life. But they live on the farm, they grow their own food. So for the longest period of time, they've been subsistence farm. And now we have cities where the food needs to be shipped to. So we are not growing enough just to feed our own people. So we bring it across border from India, just to ship the food in and all of that. And all of these issues are also very relevant to Bhutan as well. If the supply chain is cut off, or if also the source of origin, can it be trusted? So all of these things are a bit out of our control as well. So I think if I could share my perspective as a young for now, but is that my experience with food happened. My father, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer very late, and he was 58, and the doctor gave him 6 months. And during that point of time, it only occurred to me at that point of time I wanted to pursue my career in engineering, and I sat down with my father for 6 months, while I slowly watched him die, is the importance of food. And then it comes to a point where in Bhutan there's not so much of an issue of hunger because everyone's pretty much fed, but are we feeding them the right food to because sometimes, like you said, it's cultural taste, right? And that issue is sometimes your taste buds are not really a good good kind of indicator of if you're having more good food. So all of these things seem to be there, and because of that, the problem itself is only directional. So even with the chapter, if we look at the members, also it's how different, diverse group. So what that is opening, and also for me, through this journey that I'm learning, is that because the problem is only directional, the solution should be that way as well. In the sense of we need to rethink our policies. We need to rethink our banking system. Is it favorable for people that are growing food? Is it actually a place where young people can build career? So I think with the chapter, I think we're taking small, tiny micro step towards asking those questions. We don't necessarily have all the answer, but I think people definitely are thinking differently, and maybe that's the start of change.
Love it. I know you guys have another place to be and another session to attend, but as we wrap up, I just have a quick speed session. If you had a magic wand and you can get one wish from this genie, I'm going to ask this question to all four of you. What would be your wish? Let's start from you, Ellie.
I think I would hope that everyone can engage in advocacy work because, like, to the earlier question, I think a lot of the youth in Canada are just frustrated on a level where, like, food is a basic human right. So the fact that food security and that there is food insecurity is just a bit outrageous. And then with that, there's like housing security, income security, there's like transportation and infrastructure issues. There's so much going on that creates this like just bubble where youth are just frustrated. And like, where do you go with that frustration? Go to your governments, go to your politicians, try to like enact some policy change, some legislation change. I hope that everyone can advocate for something that means something to them.
Fantastic.
I think for me, you're the climate justice. And I mean that in the sense where I think that there's justice for people who are losing their homes sinking into the ocean. And there are people and companies who are responsible for that effect. And I would hope that there would be accountability for those people. And the same with food insecurity. I would hope there will be accountability for people who have exploited the agri-food system to create hunger.
Lovely.
From the chapter's perspective, we have an incredible team. We have a national remit. We have this connection to the UNFAO. We have an incredible set of projects that we want to deliver. Youth Food Lab, for example, across the Pacific Island nations in Australia. So the one thing that we're missing is the funding and the support. We have this structure. We're ready. We're new. So we're getting the word out, and we're looking for people to support us in that journey, financially and otherwise.
Fantastic.
If there was a magic wand, I would wish for the world to be much more healthier in the sense of not just the food, but healthier mindset as well, right? It's also another food that we feed into our subconsciousness, and I think in that way that could lead to all these other changes that's important and that's necessary. So it's my I'll put the world to be much more conscious.
That's amazing. No, that makes sense. So with this, we're going to come to an end of this fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I think we heard it loud and clear that the youth of today is not the future for us. It is the present. And we need to work together to make sure our future globally is in good hands. And thank you so much for taking the initiatives in your countries, in your world, and coming and doing what you think is right. So thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.